The 5-room dungeon is a story structure, said Dade from Mystic Arts. And he's right, beyond being an adventure divided into 5 locations, it's a structure or framework for quick and easy adventure design. With that formula, you can turn any loose idea you have into a functional playable game. So to demonstrate that, the Dungeon Tubers Dungeon Jam was born. A massive collab birthing a massive number of 5-room dungeons that you can just grab and play. And here's my submission. The wealthy, fancy folk of the city have their hotspots where they like to gather and be seen in public view. The most popular one of them, a greenhouse. That is, until tiny little sprites approach the players to hire them. You've got one evening to heist the building. But don't think it will be easy. The lush greenery and colorful flower beds are just a distraction from the corruption at the roots and the dreadful hag who runs the gardens. And there you have it, a heist and a mystery packaged into a quick and easy 5-room dungeon.
Oof, are you sure you're capable of that?
Capable of what?
I just don't picture you not overthinking this stuff. I mean, your whole personality is making things more complicated than they need to be.
Okay, maybe I went a little overboard with my adventure. But if we accept the idea that the 5-room dungeon is a story structure, it implies that maybe that same framework can be applied to an adventure with a slightly larger scope. Don't think of the 5 rooms in your dungeon as 5 rooms, but rather as 5 tiers. 5 chapters with their own identity coming together into a complete story. So I structured my Orchid Heist into 5 tiers, each with its own specific vibe, pacing style, and risk level. And before we talk about these tiers, let's have a little overview of the adventure. Have you ever watched Buffy or Angel? There's a character in there called Harmony who I love with all my heart.
You are betraying me.
Because you never have any confidence in me.
No, because you have no soul.
I would if you had confidence in me.
She's a recovering mean girl, super bubbly, and seems naive and harmless, but can turn out to be absolutely dreadful.
Those kind of comments are self-growth inhibitors. I tune out mental roadblocks.
Yeah, this is fully how I'm gonna roleplay this big bad evil guy. Our villain's name is Destiny, and on the outside she seems like the friendly and approachable entrepreneur who grew a pharmaceutical and cosmetics brand into a thriving beauty empire. What the public doesn't know is that she's a hag in disguise. Among socialites in the big city, confidence and self-image are currency, and Destiny saw opportunity. Her knack for business led her to cultivate, prey, and capitalize on people's insecurities. So many out there long to look more muscular, less tired, less short, more curvy, more authoritative, more friendly, more eloquent. And Destiny can help because what she sells is self-improvement. Her cosmetics and pharmaceuticals all have the same goal: to help you become your best self.
Found a wrinkle in your reflection? Mortality is a curse. As living, breathing beings, our bodies naturally age, which we should be deeply ashamed of. But with just a drop of Destiny Remedy's all-natural balm, my skin now looks like I stole it from a baby. I'm 97, but I don't look a day over 25. Thank you, Destiny.
Of course, the products quickly create dependency. When the effects fade after a few days and your wrinkles come back even more noticeable, you're willing to sacrifice more and more for a refill.
Ask your cleric if Destiny Remedies is right for you. Just kidding. You should definitely be using them.
But potent magic requires potent ingredients. For her new line of products, Destiny stole an orchid from a remote community of wild sprites. In truth, what she's after isn't the orchid, but what's inside, a bunch of sprite eggs. She's planning to turn those into the best youth elixir to ever exist on the market. The sprites know that the orchid is held in a greenhouse called Destiny's Gardens. This is Destiny's headquarters. It's where the labs and manufacturing center are located, but the greenhouse is also open to the public. It has a shop and a cafe and became a very popular hotspot for aristocrats and high-profile citizens. In reality, it's a great opportunity for Destiny to find information on and to influence her target clientele. 2 sprites, Ulbrich and Pandora, have been sent to retrieve the eggs, but magical wards had already been placed around the greenhouse to block sprites from entering the building. Though they wish they could go in themselves, their only option is to hire adventurers to infiltrate the greenhouse during tonight's gala. Because yeah, Destiny is fancy like that, and she's organized the gala in order to announce her new line of products. Enter your players. The aim of this tier is to kick things off with as much dopamine and excitement as possible, by emulating the vibes of a quintessential heist movie trope, the planning phase. Ulbrich and Pandora give the players a necessary briefing. While they can't enter the greenhouse themselves, these sprites are doing everything they can to help with the mission. They've stolen blueprints of the building from the town hall, and Ulbrich has enough juice to enchant 3 items into magical gadgets for PCs to use. What a nice guy. I really hope nothing bad happens to him. If you want to get the most out of this planning phase, I would recommend using handouts. Just imagine your players standing around the table like in a heist movie, marking blueprints for entrances and exits. The immersion? And the PDF of the adventure has a bunch of printable cards with available gadgets. Just give them to your players and ask them to take their pick. During this planning phase, if they want, your players can even try and stake out the building to get more information for their heist. I would limit that to 1 roll per character because we're on a time crunch, but you do you. Though this phase doesn't really involve much risk, if players really mess up in their scouting, you can decide to set up complications for later. Like the security guards and employees will keep a closer eye on them during the gala. In the end, the true risk in a planning phase is that players easily could spend a whole session planning. Consider using the most dreadful tool available to game masters, the timer. Because starting off the game with a little time pressure does wonderful things for pacing. You've got 15 minutes to plan your heist, and when the timer rings, it's showtime. The gala is starting and we cut to location. Actually, before we do that, this is entirely optional, different players, different tastes, but there's an opportunity here. Remember, these are wild sprites, they usually stay away from civilization, and given the circumstances, they might be very protective and not all that trusting. They might decide that if players truly want to know why the orchid is so important, they'll need some form of guarantee first. Players who choose to can enter a fey bargain with Pandora. They give her a lock of hair, and in exchange she reveals that the orchid contains sprite eggs. As long as the deal is active, if they share that secret, they will take psychic damage. Not only that, any damage that they personally deal to the orchid also carries out to them. They know the rules. This very bargain ends once the egg is safely returned. It could also end if the lock of hair is destroyed, if the fae that issued the bargain dies, or if she chooses to release the character. Honestly, I think there's something really cool about potentially not all players knowing why the orchid is so precious. But again, entirely optional. And now we cut to location. Pushing past the lobby, the greenhouses are beautifully curated, lush landscapes. The central greenhouse is the tallest, with smaller greenhouses to the sides and a little cafe. Everyone is dressed up for the gala and enjoying some fancy snacks that waiters carry around on a silver platter. And oh boy, everything smells like money and influence. Classically, in the 5-room dungeon, this second tier could be a puzzle or a roleplay challenge, and we're kind of getting both here. Location-wise, this includes all the areas of the building that are accessible to the public. By talking with NPC attendees, players can find out more about Destiny's business and about the mindset of her clients. The players can purchase products in the shop that provide minor buffs. The finger foods and cafe pastries are pretty fun and give temporary changes to one's appearance, like your hair color or adding freckles or longer lashes.
That's too bright and cute. Coming from you? That's suspicious.
I can do bright and cute.
But will you?
Well, if you enter a hag's domain, of course you become her prey. You knew what you were getting into.
I thought no one knew Destiny was a hag.
Oh, true. Tough luck. Destiny has set up some environmental effects in the public areas of the greenhouse to collect information on people's deepest insecurities. For example, the mirrors are enchanted and can show people a version of their reflection that inflates their own perceived flaws. Say if a character's main insecurity is that they're not strong enough, their reflection looks weaker and more frail than it normally is. And of course, if you've consumed any food here, you get disadvantage on these saves.
Because while only Destiny makes it, only you make it unforgettable.
Players are also likely to actually meet Destiny here. From her balcony overlooking the central greenhouse, she gives a speech announcing her upcoming line of products. If players talk to her while she mingles, she's a master at subtle backhanded compliments. Oh my gosh, you're so good at makeup. It makes your nose look so much slimmer than it actually is. Your style is like so unique. I wish I was brave enough to dress however I wanted. Tier 2 ends when the players find their way into the staff areas. That can be done plenty of ways, by stealing a key, by sneaking through the cafe's kitchen. Either way, from now on though, your risk meter is gonna go up. A big goal in making this adventure is I want each of the tiers to feel very distinct from each other. Each threshold you cross takes you into another atmosphere, darker and riskier as you go. But to communicate that shift of atmosphere to the players, nothing is more efficient than music and sound. I don't need to tell the players that they've crossed the threshold, they can hear and feel that shift right away. I made 5 different playlists for this adventure. Each tier gets its own vibe, its own music, and its own ambient sound effects. And if you want to run this game with the same soundscape that I used, you can find the playlist that I made directly on Opus. Opus has a huge library of music, sound effects, ambience specifically catered for TTRPG. And not just medieval fantasy. If what you want is some 80s synth a la Stranger Things, you're gonna find it. Hi. 'Tis the fusion of the TTRPG music label Michael Ghelfi Studios and describe an Annie Award-winning platform where professional writers create resources for GMs, and it gathers it all into a web app for GMs designed to integrate that into games as smoothly as possible. The cool thing is you can also use it for online play because your players can listen along, and also beyond curating your own collections, you can pick from a bunch of community-made collections already in there. So if you type Orchid Heist in the search bar, you'll find the playlists and soundscapes that I made for this adventure in Opus. And because they're cool like that, they're sponsoring the video. So if that sounds cool to you, you can get an extended 30-day free trial with the link in the video description and the code Cokeboards and Curiosities. Thank you, Opus, and I need you to know I've also been using this account to have a soundscape to my study sessions and my cleaning sprees. This is the sneaky part of the journey where being found out can get you in trouble. But mostly Tier 3 sets up intrigue, posing new questions that the players don't have answers to just yet. Something sinister is behind it, we just don't yet know what. In the 5-room dungeon structure, Room 3 is a form of setback or trick. It builds tension as the players realize this is not gonna be as easy as they thought. This tier covers all the staff areas including the labs, and this place doesn't inspire beauty but fear. The labs don't have windows and the ingredients are not the kind of pretty natural remedies you expected. There are some natural ingredients that seem to be almost sentient and look like they are in great pain. Among the encounters in this tier, the most important one is meeting the head of the lab department, Dr. Nathaniel Merville. All of Destiny's employees are trapped into their job to some extent via a fairy bargain just like the one that may exist between the sprites and the players. But Nathaniel is the one in which Destiny's claws dig the deepest. A deal that he made with her long ago is keeping him hostage, forced to be complicit in her actions. Crippled by guilt and surviving on coffee, in secret he's been trying to break the spell ever since and expose Destiny. Of course he hasn't had much luck so far, but that does mean he can be convinced to help. Or you know, if your players end up killing him, at least they can find his notes. If the players manage to deceive security guards until now, it won't be as easy if they get caught here in these staff-only areas. Besides, Destiny's security guards aren't exactly people per se, but something a tad darker. One major question remains. Where is the orchid? It's nowhere to be found in the labs. But there is a door at the end of a long corridor marked with the words highly restricted access. Beyond you will find a mechanical elevator. It takes the players deep underground below the buildings into a secret area that was never on the blueprints. Destiny's lair is a damp stone basement crawling with vines and somewhat smelling of rot. Kinda similar to my apartment. This tier builds up dread for the climax and determines how many boons or banes the players will enter the resolution with. I've taken some liberties with the 5-room dungeon structure here and decided to make this tier into a puzzle room. All of the witch's active spells are here. The enchantment of the mirrors keeping tabs on visitors' insecurities, the fey bargain keeping the employees trapped, the solution to setting Nathaniel free, but also the source of the wars that keep these sprites away from the greenhouse. And finally, a half puzzle, half creature room guarding the path to the vault. Also kinda similar to my apartment. The next and final tier will unfold very differently depending on what you do here and what spells you're able to break. I normally wouldn't introduce puzzles this close to the resolution when everything needs to speed up and feel tense. While we're coming so close to the climax, puzzles might seem like a halt in pacing. but in this case, taking even a minute to solve the puzzles will create urgency. The vibe I'm going for is the last 10 minutes of an escape room, if you've ever experienced that. It should feel like defusing a bomb. Because as soon as one of Destiny's spells is broken, she will know, and the players only have a limited amount of time before she shows up. The torches in the room turn red, and her voice can be heard speaking through the mouth of carnivorous plants in the room. Oh darling, you really shouldn't have done that. You've now got very limited time before Destiny's arrival. Maybe that's enough to make it into the vault. Or maybe the best thing you can do is brace yourself and prepare for impact. Welcome to Tier 5, the Resolution. If you ignored the active spells in the lair, or if you're quick, you may have been lucky enough to enter the vault before the hack shows up. If so, you're looking at an equally damp small room and study in which an orchid faintly glows beneath a glass bell jar. If your players hadn't taken Pandora's fairy bargain, they now find out the true nature of the orchid, harboring slightly translucent egg inside of which the outline of small fairy bodies can be seen. An alembic and a letter sit on the desk with instructions on how to turn sprite children into a youth elixir. The mortar and pestle are right there if you're so inclined to make sprite paste.
Alex, that is gross. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. There are many variables to this final encounter. Destiny might try to make a deal with the party. After all, thanks to her mirrors, she might know of their insecurities, and in this case, she'd be well informed to offer a deal that's hard to refuse. But will she really follow through on the peaceful route? Really? If a fight breaks out, the spells that you manage to deactivate determine potential allies. Dispelling the wards means that these sprites can rush in to help. Oh, but you want to really spice things up, huh? What if the orchid were to bloom? The time has come and these sprite eggs are hatching. Being creatures inherently filled with magic, their birth floods the room with fey energy, triggering whimsical and psychedelic-like effects at the beginning of each round. Some of them can have a mechanical use in combat, like a random target suddenly becoming invisible. Or it can be purely flavor, like the eerie sound of children's laughter echoing in the chamber. Or maybe suddenly everyone in the room can understand the plants as they are yelling, "Water!
Kill me!
As the fight dies down, hopefully with the death of Destiny, the players are left in the aftermath. Perhaps baby sprites are reunited with their community and are ready to go home. Perhaps employees are free and the truth comes to light. Those who crave Destiny's products will go through a difficult time, but eventually the withdrawal effects of the products will fade away. However, nothing can prepare the city for the scandal to come. Regardless, your players may walk out with precious loot and even more precious allies. But if your players gave in to temptation, Destiny herself could be a powerful ally too. Though her patronage comes at a price, she does pay well on quests to fetch new ingredients or to silence a pesky person here and there. And thus concludes our 5-room dungeon. If you're interested in running this one, the PDF is available in the description of the video and it includes printables for maps and handouts. I'll admit this tiered layout was a bit of an experiment on my end. I tried some new things in an effort to make this PDF as easy to navigate as possible. It's entirely free and yours to grab, but if you like the work that I make, I've got a Patreon, and the lovely people there make it possible for me to justify the ridiculous amount of time I spend on writing, drawing, and layout. Thank you! So many wonderful creators participated in this dungeon jam, and there's some amazing stuff in there. So here's the playlist, and I hope to see you there. On this note, have a good evening, and may the hag within you help you find success in all your dark endeavors.